Former Indiana governor and current vice president of the United States, Mike Pence, caused a big uproar on social media and the internet this past Sunday when he went back to his home state of Indiana to the Colts 49ers game at Lucas Oil Stadium and ultimately decided to leave because there were players protesting during the national anthem. He has a problem with this. He's really making it akin to being unpatriotic and disrespectful to the soldiers and veterans and the flag and all this other garbage. And that's exactly what it is, garbage. And the simple fact of the matter is what Mike Pence did was a taxpayer-backed and funded political stunt. He went to this game knowing that this was going to happen and having it planned out what he was going to do to make a statement to be able to feed some more red meat to his base. And that's exactly what he did, and he did it brilliantly. And I think it's one of these things that if you're like me and you're not a Trumper, you're not a Pence guy, you don't like these guys, you don't like what they represent, and you think they're very dangerous, I think one thing we ought to stop doing is calling these guys stupid, calling them crazy. Because honestly, they're not stupid. They didn't get into the White House by accident. They got there based off of political skill, an incredibly flawed opponent, but actually having a message that they trotted out there and got enough of the type of people that they needed to get behind it to win in the states that they needed to. It's that simple. For all the people that get so upset about this and say that he's not my president, yeah, Trump is. Pence is your VP. And ultimately, as a country, all of us, whether you voted for him or not, helped to contribute to make this possible, to make this happen. What we should not do is be dismissive of it happening by calling these guys stupid, by calling them crazy idiots and so forth, because honestly, they know exactly what the hell they're doing. And Mike Pence on Sunday, the vice president, knew exactly what the hell he was doing. And if you don't believe that, then you're the idiot. This was a taxpayer-backed, taxpayer-funded political stunt, and it was pulled off perfectly for the base that they were trying to feed to. That's exactly what it was. And how the Make America Great Again crowd have been able to take these anthem protests, the kneeling and sitting during the national anthem, and make it not about inequality and a lack of consistency and justice, and make it about police brutality and all these other things, but instead making it about disrespecting the flag, disrespecting the anthem, disrespecting the troops, soldiers, veterans, everything America stands for, has been very skillful. They have won the narrative. They have. The players that wanted to protest, the way that you could have really caused an issue here and made the narrative much tougher for the MAGA crowd to mold and cultivate was to have been kneel or sit during the anthem and open up the Bible and say a prayer. Because as much as the MAGA crowd likes to hide behind the flag, they like to hide behind the good book even more. And at that point in time, if they would have started to get on you about the fact that you're sitting there and praying during the national anthem, you're disrespecting the flag, but they're respecting God. Just saying. Now, if they would have had a major problem with it, you could have went even more down the path of, even though it already is about the fact that it's black athletes doing it, it would have been even more about that. But again, oftentimes it's not about the message, it's about the way the message is delivered, it's packaged, and the way Trump and team have been able to package the message have ultimately been much more effective than the protesters. That simple. But for Mike Pence to sit there and talk about he has a problem with this, and how it's unpatriotic and it really makes it akin to being un-American and ungrateful and disrespectful to troops, soldiers, veterans. I think it's the height of hypocrisy. Because this is a guy who at his own political rallies will see people flying Confederate flags, people wearing Confederate flags. The same Mike Pence, Donald Trump team that thinks it's a bad idea to stop naming schools and public places after Confederate soldiers, who think it's a bad idea to take down Confederate war hero monuments, is sitting there talking about how these NFL players, who happen to mostly be black, imagine that, are disrespecting the American flag and disrespecting the soldiers and the veterans and Americans, when that's complete crap. When you sit there and you see ultimately these flags of the Confederacy, or what came to represent the Confederacy, need we go down the path of history to remember that they were the Confederacy. These states formed a union of their own after they seceded from the Union, declared war on the Union. They were traitors who formed their own union to, one, protect the institution of slavery, and two, protect their own states' rights and say screw other states' rights, especially when it came to the enforcement of the Fugitive Slave Act in the 1850s. And to believe much else other than that is just complete and utter historical garbage. How dare Mike Pence talk about these millionaire black athletes disrespecting their country, disrespecting their flag, disrespecting their anthem, when at his own freaking rallies, his supporters are doing the very same thing by not only supporting and defending the history and heritage of the great Southern experience, the slaveholders, but more importantly, from the context of getting this message to sink through, they were traitors. They committed treason. How ridiculous is this? That you're mad at these guys, but you're okay with these guys who are openly disrespecting the flag and everything that it alleges to stand for by flying a treasonous state's flag. Am I the only one that sees the hypocrisy here? So for Mike Pence, since we want to get all patriotic and pro-troops and pro-America and all that other crap, the next time you go to a NASCAR event, which is right up your freaking alley, full of Trump and Make America Great Again people, when you see somebody flying the stars and bars, when you see somebody flying the Confederate battle flag, are you then going to leave as well in protest because these people are disrespecting the American flag? Which is exactly what it is. Look, ultimately, the First Amendment is there to protect popular and unpopular speech. It is an inconvenient truth depending on your perspective, I suppose, but to me, the Black Lives Matter, the Antifa people of the world have the same amount of right to protest, no more, no less, peacefully, mind you, as the white supremacist, the white separatist, the white nationalist in Charlottesville. As long as it is peaceful, to me, it is fundamentally wrong to pick and choose how we enforce the Constitution. Of course, our country has a long, proud history of doing that, especially if you're white versus everybody else, but ultimately, how it's written, this is what it's supposed to be. People should be free to speak out about unpopular opinions. They should be free to have unpopular speech because that is, again, a constitutionally guaranteed right for citizens. But we have a problem with these athletes, again, mostly black, that are protesting in their way, but we have absolutely no problem at a NASCAR event with all these Confederate flags flying all over the goddamn place. We have no problem with all these statues and parks named after and honoring traitors. And we have no problem even at our own freaking political rallies with people holding up a flag that represents a state that committed treason against the Union. Where's the outrage over this? Where is the anger over this? And where are the protests for this, which of course we know are never going to happen? Because this thing over here feeds to the base. This thing over here offends the base because the base thinks that all this other crap, flying the stars and bars and celebrating Confederate war heroes, is something noble, something that speaks to history and heritage. If that speaks to your history and heritage, that's fine. It is also a reminder, a remembrance of what your history and your heritage is. And it's not good, and it's ultimately that you are descended from traitors. They committed treason. And I believe, according to the Constitution, there's not a more unpatriotic thing you can do than commit treason. So for all of you that are with Pence, you know what? Be mad about the black athlete taking a knee and sitting during the national anthem. Call that unpatriotic. Call that un-American. Talk about how that disrespects troops and veterans and all this other hot garbage. While all the while you fly your stars and bars and you advocate for keeping Confederate statues up because you're the real traitors. You're the real unpatriotic and un-American people. It's unbelievable that we have a vice president of the United States and a president of the United States with all the other things going on in this country and in this world that choose to focus on anthem protesters, but they'd be perfectly fine with the Confederate flag flying at their rallies because ultimately, of course, that represents freedom. The other crap, we can't have that. It's bullshit. People can fly their stars and bars. That's fine. Because again, it's about free speech. It's about protecting popular and unpopular speech. But we should not celebrate people flying the Confederate flag. We should not celebrate these Confederate Civil War veterans and heroes or so forth. Because look at the cause they were fighting for. And what they ultimately did. They committed treason against this country. That is not something to celebrate. That is the most un-American, unpatriotic thing to do, is commit treason. If you're going to protest them, then protest NASCAR and protest your own freaking rallies. Otherwise, Mr. Vice President, Mr. President, shut the hell up.